Welcome back to Reflections of Darkness. I'm your gorgeous drag hostess, Evil. Just relaxing here in my lair of eternal damnation. I hope all my listeners out there, yes, that's right, all 5 of you, are steering clear of the COVID-19 virus. You know, Mr. Corona, if you will. I know I am. Usually I say, if they're over 18, I'm in. But this one, I think I'll pass. Well, that's enough current events for now. Tonight I want to try a new little segment called Quick Reflections. That's where I'll tell you about some of the other movies I've watched since the last episode that I didn't really want to do a whole episode about, but I still wanted to give you a quick reflection of. First quick reflection is In the Mouth of Madness. Oh, that was my nickname in high school. No. It's a John Carpenter movie from 1994. It's basically if H.G. Wells and Stephen King wrote a book together and then John Carpenter made the movie. Yeah, it holds up pretty well. It's a little dated. It's a good romp, if you will. I would definitely recommend it. So if you have a day to kill, I'm sure it's on Shudder or Hulu or one of the other things that I have and watch movies on. The second quick reflection is Session 9 from 2001, I think. Now, this one was a little bit darker. Deals with suicide, mental institutions, not menstrual institutions. That would be completely a different movie. Has John Caruso from CSI, which, you know, redheads love him. Session 9, yes, back to that. Good psychological thriller, if you will. Some people think it's a haunting movie. Not really. It's kind of a possession movie. Great twist ending. Definitely recommend. And that brings me to my third quick reflection. I must take a beat because this one wore me out. This movie from 2004, Dracula 3000. If you've never seen this movie, don't watch it. This is the worst movie I think I have possibly ever seen. And I love vampire movies. All of them. I even like Twilight. But this abomination of a vampire movie is just cannot be helped. I don't want to tell you any more about it because it might pique your interest, and I don't want you to watch it. So that's all. And that, my lovely listeners, was Quick Reflections. Hopefully it was quick enough. Now for tonight's main feature. My guest, yes, I said guest, my guest and I will be reviewing 1963's The Haunting. Enjoy. Tonight we have another guest. Aren't we so excited? Our second guest, Mr. Gregory. Say hello to everybody in podcast land.
Hello, everybody in podcast land.
Have you ever been on a podcast?
No.
Really?
I listen to a lot of podcasts.
Oh, that's fun. So it's your first. Fun, exciting. Tonight we have, I'm gonna say, an interesting movie.
That's being polite. Very polite. You're being very polite to this movie.
It's not a barn burner of a movie. It's a bit of a, it's a bit of the movie of the time. We're talking about The Haunting from 1963.
Which I kept getting confused, because I've seen both the movies, but I kept getting confused with the Vincent Price classic, The Haunting of Hill House, which was way
The House on Haunted Hill.
The House on Haunted Hill. Shit, sorry.
Yeah.
Which is basically based on the same source material, which is the book.
But it's so much campier and crazy.
It's so much campier, way more fun. This movie was...
It was a bit of a snooze.
It was a snooze fest.
But it was a really pretty snooze.
Oh my god, so pretty.
Okay, so let's just start off. It's very a haunted house cliche kind of movie. So, you know, you start off with the exterior of the house in silhouette against the scary sky. You've got the opening dialogue
which I wrote down.
Oh.
Scandal, mystery, murder, and suicide.
Exactly. The silhouette opening is cool. The little psychedelic way they did the haunting, the
title card.
it was cool. It's based off the Haunting of Hill House by
Shirley Jackson.
Yes.
Jackson.
That they have made multiple movies about and multiple and the
series,
TV
the
series.
Netflix series.
Yeah. So the first thing they show the house after it was built, the woman dying in the carriage accident.
Yes, there's the first lady of the house who never actually sees the house because
she just dies.
The horses get spooked and somehow crash into a tree and she dies.
Yeah, and so then they bring her corpse into the house, and the father forces the daughter to look at it.
Oh, yes. Okay, this father is so fucked up. Like, this child
And
is
she tries
trying
to turn away.
Turn away, and the dad, like, holds
No,
her head, like,
no.
look at this. Look at your dead mother.
Look at her, damn it. Yes, that was... I don't know what that was. But,
Oh, that's the terrible father.
I mean, it's...
absolutely terrible father.
It totally starts the whole... okay, so the daughter has to look at the corpse. The father, what's the word I want? Traumatizes his daughter forever.
Forever.
And then we see the second wife just briefly in the house.
She looks like an evil stepmother. She looks like she's not a pleasant woman.
She looks like it, but we never really find that out because you see her for a minute and then she dramatically falls down the stairs.
That's putting it. It was such a bizarre. I mean, again,
weird.
So many beautiful shots. Like, this movie is incredibly gorgeous looking. Like, all of the shots, like, there are all these.
They're
stills.
so planned out. They're so well done. And then she falls down and she's at the bottom of the stairs, and that's a cool shot because it's looking up while she's looking down backwards, and like the keys are in her hand, and all of a sudden they fall. It's a really cool shot, but a completely odd thing to happen.
You just watch the scene. It's kind of amazing.
Right. Oh, BT Dubs, you should watch the movie before you listen to this. I'll probably tell you that in the intro, or I have told you that in the intro. You know how things go.
You know how things go.
Yeah. Then they cut to a shot of the little girl Abigail in her bed, and they just say, that she grew up in this house, stayed in this house her whole life, and then became an old lady and is bedridden. And they do this aging shot on her face, which halfway through the aging shot, she just looks like Chelsea Handler. And then it cuts to old lady in the bed, and then the story about the companion who apparently was taking care of...
Yeah, she had a woman taking care of her.
Who they called the companion.
Yeah, she doesn't have a name, she's just the companion.
Right, who was getting frisky with the farmhand in the house while she should have been watching the old lady, and then the old lady dies.
And then the old lady dies.
And then somehow the house gets transferred to the companion?
Yeah, apparently she left the house to the companion, which...
That seems fishy, just saying. Oh, here, old lady, just sign right here. No, it's nothing important.
Just give me your house. I'm going to go fuck your farmhand. Bye.
Right? Totes. You don't need pills tonight. I'm good. Bye. I didn't get that. I was like, why would the companion get the house? I guess, Abigail never went out and had children, so somebody had to get it. Again, I put really good shots. And then, okay, so we get through that. We get through the history of the house. Cut to the doctor, Dr. Markway, is talking to Juno, his caseworker.
He's talking to the current owner of the house.
Yes,
who's this old woman who, if you've seen the movie Beetlejuice, looks like the woman who plays Juno.
Yes, she's
the
smoking.
Caseworker.
She's smoking. She's got the same basic outfit, and she even sounds like her.
Yes,
it's just that person.
Everyone in this scene is everyone is chain smoking in this scene.
Everyone's chain smoking in this movie, except Eleanor. She's a prude on top of a prude.
Yeah,
she doesn't drink. She doesn't smoke.
Eleanor is just kind of boring and pedestrian.
Totes.
But we're getting to Eleanor. We haven't gotten to Eleanor yet.
Right. So the doctor wants to rent the house to do an experiment. He says he has all these people picked out specifically for reasons he doesn't divulge at the moment. But the lady's like, okay, fine, whatever. Also, Luke, the person who the house is going to be inherited to, is also going to be there. So just so you know.
My name's Markway, Dr. Markway. A scientist interested in the supernatural. The unnatural, if you like. I came to Hill House to find the key to another world. Assisting me in this exploration of the unknown was Eleanor, Nell, who could look back into the past, and Theo, something of a witch, who could see into the future. This is Luke, who didn't believe in anything. Until evil, patient and waiting, made him change his mind.
Okay. Cut to, I think the next shot is,
where we meet Eleanor.
yes, and she is...
Eleanor lives with her sister and her sister's husband and their daughter.
Who's there briefly.
Who is there briefly.
This family is dysfunctional is kind. They are just assholes to this woman.
They gaslight the fuck out of this woman for no reason other than to just, like, torture her because they hate her. They clearly hate this woman.
But why? It seems like she did all this hard work with their mother that obviously the other sister didn't, like, take care of the mother, but she did. And she wasted her whole life not having a husband or a daughter or a car or a house. She just took over her mother and, like, neglected her own life. And they're, like, total assholes to her.
Yeah, she wants to borrow the car to go. She's been chosen to go to Hill House, and she really wants to go. And they're like, no, you can't use our car. And she's like, but I literally paid for half of that car. And they're like, yeah, it's still no.
Yeah. So at some point, I said Needle Point bitch, which is her sister, needed to be slapped. Because she is just a giant see you next Tuesday. But luckily, Eleanor got some balls and she went and stole the car.
She stole the car.
And put all her worldly possessions in it, which is a suitcase and a package. And that's it.
And then this is the first of what I will refer to as Eleanor's inner fucking maniac dialogues. There are about 1 million of them in this movie.
Yes.
She talks to herself about how she needs to escape, which is like, granted, cool, get it. You go, girl. Steal the car. Do your thing.
You do you, girl.
But, like, this woman has so many internal dialogues, and they're just, like, the insane ramblings of a crazy person.
It totally is. She is inside her head, and I'm sure because she had to be with her mother, who is basically an invalid for 11 years, that she had no one to turn to but her, like, inside her own head, and she went crazy. So she drives to Hill House, and she pulls up to the most fabulous gate. Oh, I loved the gate. You said it looked Illuminati.
It looked like an Illuminati symbol.
And if the Illuminati is listening, I don't condone that talk.
Please.
They're real.
The Illuminati is like, fuck yeah, we want our own gate. Here it is.
Yeah.
Sign up, bitches.
Right. So then we meet the caretaker.
Oh, the caretaker.
Who, okay, he's kind of a dick, but I believe that Eleanor brought it on herself. Because she was just like, let me in. I belong here. You don't need to ask questions. You know, like, she was just kind of a bitch. And he's like, who are you? What? I don't need to open this gate.
Also, this caretaker, okay, creepy as fuck looking.
Truth.
And, like, he has this accent that it's like he's talking and you're just like, where are you?
Where in the hell are
where
you
are you from? Well, I want to know your backstory.
Right. Well, a lot of this was filmed, I believe, in England, right?
That was not an English accent.
No, I know, but the actors might have been trying to be American, and that was their attempt.
Oh.
If they're British, and this is what an American sounds like.
I don't know. It was just kind of like...
It was rough, yes. So she gets through the gate, finally.
The other thing about the caretaker... He keeps mentioning his wife, and I'm like, you sound like he sounded real gay. Like, he sounded real gay.
Yeah, that's like, the British trying to be American.
Real gay. And I'm just like, honey, your wife has a penis.
Well, we do get to meet the wife really soon.
And then we meet the wife. Like, the very next shot is us meeting the wife.
Well, no, it's Eleanor going up to the house, finally. And she gets up there, and she knocks. And a woman answers. She doesn't say anything. And Eleanor's like, I'm Eleanor, you must be the caretaker's wife, Mrs. Dudley, I think it was.
Yeah,
and she doesn't say anything. And they go into the house, still, she doesn't say anything. And the lady's like, okay, well, can you show me to my room? And she just walks away. And then still not saying anything.
And then in this time, like, so we see, like, a bunch of, like, really just great camera shots of the house, like, really beautiful shots of this house.
Yes.
And then, like, there are some sounds, and then we literally see Eleanor blink. Like she just keeps blinking for some reason, just blinking, and then she has like this other insane internal dialogue about something.
Yes, and then you finally hear the caretaker's wife's voice, and she's like, "Here, come here, this is your room." And then she puts on this whole creepy, ominous, there will be no one here after we leave.
You
No
won't
one-
be safe.
Yeah.
No one comes here.
After it's dark, there's no one that can help you.
And it's...
And if you scream, no one will hear you. And then she creepy smiles and closes the door.
And it's great. The whole time, like, she's kind of lit from below. So
Was
she
she
has
or
these...
was it above? Yeah, she looked raccoony. either
Like, she
way.
had, like, these crazy raccoon eyes. The way it was lit, like, her eyes look heavily lidded. She's creepy as fuck. And then she just smiles after saying this weird shit, like, basically, you're gonna die here.
Yeah, that's basically what it was. Then, okay, so Eleanor has a little odd fit in her room. She's like, oh my god, I'm alone and it's scary. And then she hears voices. And she runs through the adjoining bathroom, I'm guessing. And we get to see Theodora.
Oh, Theodora!
She arrives.
Oh
in
my god.
This like leopard coat with a fur collar, a black leather turban with black leather gloves. She is everything.
Theodora is fucking everything. Basically the exact opposite of Eleanor. Eleanor is
Exact
afraid
opposite.
of everything, literally including her own shadow. At one point, she runs into a mirror and freaks the fuck out
Yes, she saw herself.
because she saw herself in the mirror, and it's just like, girl, calm down.
Right. But Theodora, also we figure out she's kind of psychic, because she keeps just dropping these little hints. Not the greatest hints, but...
Yeah, like she figures out, like she calls Eleanor Nell, and she's like, "How did you know my nickname?" And she's like, "Well, that's the nickname for Eleanor." And it's like,
Nell is not the...
I've
never
heard that, but
The nickname
okay.
for Eleanor is not Nell. I don't know. But yes, so then we see those two, and they get lost in the house. And then Dr. Markway finally shows up and saves them from the hallways that are twisting and, and he leads them into the purple parlor.
Oh, even though it's all in black and white.
Right, exactly. If you've ever seen this, or if you've watched this, you know that it's in black and white. But I want to see every room in this house because I want to see what colors they chose. Because there is so much stuff, and the wallpaper, and the prints, and the carpets, and there's so much stuff.
And there are creepy statues literally everywhere.
Everywhere. There's statues, there's wood carvings in the walls, there's stone reliefs, there's all these faces, and they're just
It's super unnerving.
yes.
But yeah, so we know the purple parlor is purple because he's like literally welcome to the purple parlor.
So we got, one clue, but that was it. We also get the vibe that Theodora is a little jealous of Eleanor because Eleanor seems to be the center of attention. I don't think Theodora is used to not being the center.
Theodora is always the center of attention.
Right, because you can tell she likes Eleanor because, Theodora, complete lesbian.
But later, I was gonna say later they become Eleonora. It's fine.
Yeah, exactly. That's their couple name. But Theodora, she's got this love-hate thing with Eleanor. She's such a bitch to her.
She's constantly harassing this poor
Right, but then she totally wants to fuck her, you can tell.
Yeah,
Totally.
We'll get to that.
I know,
it's coming.
But it's all there. Then they hear more noises. And who walks in but
Luke from Slytherin.
And he's so cute. Oh, he's so cute.
And
he has a big thing of martinis. I mean, what else do you want? Cute guy, martinis. Done.
He looks like he's wearing a blazer. He's wearing a blazer. He's not. Yeah, he's wearing a blazer that totally looks like it belongs to Slytherin house. If you could see the color of it, it would probably be green.
Oh, probably, totally. Which is fine. I'm totally in Slytherin. I love it. I'm all about.
And then it turns out the actor who played him went on later to play the therapist that
the psychiatrist in the series. Yeah.
The psychiatrist from Twin Peaks.
Yeah. No, he was also the psychiatrist in the Hill House series.
Oh yeah. He was also he also came back to the Hill House series.
Yes. They were in the dining room and the dining room mirror shot where
the dining room
mirror
they
got two people in the foreground and then two people in the mirror. I mean, the shots in this movie, it's a lot of people's famous directors' favorite movie, and I'm sure it's because of all these really cool, interesting shots.
As a photographer, I loved looking at this movie. There are so many, just the way people set up shots were just amazing. The spacing of things, the shots were incredibly well thought out, beautiful, gorgeous, boring. Nothing happens in this movie.
Nothing happens in this movie. I mean, we'll get to it, but not a lot of stuff happens. My next note is this house is covered in stuff. everywhere. There are no clean surfaces. There are lamps and statues and tchotchkes and plants and everything. There is
Marie Kondo would have a field day in this house.
I think she would come in and faint. Like
she would probably just kill herself. She'd be like, I can't.
She's like, I can't
do this. I can't do this.
Completely.
This does not bring me joy anymore.
Yes, next note I have is Theodora is trying to get Eleanor.
Yes! That was mine too. Theodora is trying to get a lesbian situation going hardcore with Eleanor.
Totally. She wants it. She needs it.
So that night, because this is night now, they go to night and like they're hearing knocking, just knocking.
Is it? It's not knocking. It's pretty bangy.
I mean, it's bangy, but it's basically just noises, and like the two women are freaking the fuck out.
They are, but it is a banging that is progressively moving through the walls and the house, and it finally gets to their door. And this really cool doorknob shot that the doorknob is a face.
The doorknob shot.
It's almost like a Versace symbol. The doorknob is very cool. And it like kind of moves like it's gonna come in and then it doesn't. And then all the banging and finally Eleanor is like, stop or whatever.
Yeah, she's like pounding on the door, having a hissy fit, and it
stops.
It seems to stop.
And then there's the maniacal, crazy female laughing, and then that fades away and it's done. And then it's just the two women huddled on the bed.
Yeah, and they're all huddled in bed together, looking at each other,
right,
lovingly.
Until the men show up, and they're like, "What? We were outside because we thought we saw a dog.
We thought we saw a dog, so we went outside to chase a dog." And the women are like, "You didn't hear all that pounding?" And they're like, "No, we didn't.
You didn't hear us screaming.
You didn't hear us screaming, and you didn't hear any pounding, even though it was super fucking loud."
Right. Yeah, I think they were off having sex in the garden,
while the
doggy style. You know what I'm saying?
So then Dr. Markway is like, the house is trying to separate us.
Yeah, exactly.
So we need to not do that. We need to stick together.
Don't go chasing after dogs.
Don't go chasing after dogs. Okay, that was dumb. Let's move on. Let's move on.
Okay, so it's the next day.
And this begins the ritual of boring ass conversations.
Yes,
every morning in this house.
I have breakfast banter between Eleanor and the doctor. Snooze. That's all I have.
Yeah, it's every fucking morning conversation. It's just kind of like, why is this here? Also, right. the conversations, like these scenes go on
for
way too fucking long. It's like, get to the point, cut about half of this shit out, and move it along.
Theodora comes in a really cool beatnik outfit, living for it. And then cutie Luke walks in. He goes, "Hey, did you guys see that thing in the hall?" And they're all like, "What thing in the hall?"
What thing in the hall?
Right. So they go out there, and it's big writing.
It's big writing. They purposely don't show you all the writing with the camera angle, but they kind of, everyone's acting like they can't read the whole writing on the wall for some reason. And then they get this stupid idea to lick it.
Yeah, they're like, "Oh, it's chalk."
And then they're like, "Oh, it's chalk."
And then the doctor's like, "Well, it's chalk-like." What's chalk-like? Like chalk. Oh, it's like chalk, but I don't think it's chalk.
I can't believe it's not chalk.
Exactly. I can't believe it's not chalk.
Even though this message is written in huge letters across the wall, they're like, we can't read it, so we have to light a match.
Yeah. To see that it said, what did it say?
Help Eleanor come home.
Help Eleanor come home.
So then, of course, Eleanor, like she does,
freaks out.
Starts to freak out some more and starts to have another crazy internal dialogue.
As per usual.
And then, which of course pisses Theodora off because Eleanor's once again the center of attention.
Which she doesn't like.
So Theodora starts like gaslighting, harping on this woman again.
Yeah, did you do it? Did you do it for the attention? Is that why you're doing it?
And then, of course, Eleanor's like, "You wrote it to scare me. You're trying to play a joke on me."
It's everybody's trying to make you crazier.
Yeah, and then, of course, again, another internal dialogue about how everyone's so mean to her and she belongs here.
Blah, blah, blah. Nobody cares. So then they go... I'm so done with Eleanor in this movie. She just is crazy and wants to be a martyr and plays the victim. And then I don't know. I just can't with her sometimes. So then they go on a nice little tour of the house. And they go to, I guess, the solarium? And there's this huge statue set of the man, his two wives.
The man who built the house, the two separate wives that he had.
The companion, the daughter, and the dog.
And a dog.
But he said that it was actually some saint tending to the lepers, but it's not what it actually is.
Yeah.
And they say that...
Well, then Luke is all like, this statue isn't even supposed to be here. It's not in the log of all the things that are in the house. I don't know how it got here.
It's a fucking ghost. Hello. The ghost likes to make creepy looking statues.
And again, there are some shots around this area where it's very reminiscent of, if you remember The Evil Dead, which came way the fuck later. But, like, there are some of these shots where the camera's kind of, like, moving around on the ground and, like, up walls and stuff. And it's very reminiscent of that. Again, super gorgeous.
Well, I'm sure this movie inspired so many horror
It did.
movies.
Well, you can also tell that it, as we talked about during the thing.
Yes.
You can tell that it largely inspired Stephen King's Rose Red.
For sure.
Like, there are even parts where, like, just whole sections are just like, oh.
The same.
Same.
So again, they leave the statues and they go to the library, which is a beautiful library. I would kill for this library. It's got a huge metal staircase, spiral staircase. We didn't say how the companion died. Remember the companion? She walked up that staircase.
Yeah. So back in the beginning, in the beginning of the movie, how it basically ended up through this companion woman's family is she eventually goes crazy and hangs herself. She climbs up this spiral staircase and hangs herself from it.
Right.
But yeah, so when they open the library,
Eleanor
has a shit fit. She's like, oh, it smells like death or whatever.
It smells like her mother's sick room.
It smells like her mother's sick room, and
which is death.
She can't go in there. So of course, then fucking Theodore like starts in on her again, like, oh, you're just doing this for attention.
Yes. What I have a note is I think they are all. At that moment, I felt like all the people were there that were in on it to try to make Eleanor crazy, you know, because they keep just kind of doing these things like, oh, did you see the thing in the hall? And it was probably him that did it, you know? In my mind, at that moment, it was all kind of an experiment to make her crazy.
Yes, at this point, it kind of seems like that's what the actual experiment going on in the house is. It's like, hey, let's take this already unstable person and see if we can actually make her crazy. It's kind of working, but then again, you don't know. Or is something actually happening in the house? We don't really know.
Well, we kind of do because of the knocking, and Theodore heard it, but she could have been. They could have all been making that sound playing along.
And at this point, it is literally an hour into the movie. Nothing has happened.
Nothing has happened.
Another
thing we forgot is the reason that the doctor picked Eleanor was because when she was little, her house got rained on by rocks, like Carrie White's house did in Carrie. And it's all poltergeist activity.
Yeah, because the doctor kept saying it's because you had a poltergeist activity. She's like, I don't remember that. That never happened.
My mother said it wasn't real.
Yeah,
just like Carrie White's mother.
Also, the rock scene, the house being destroyed by rocks, same thing happened at the end of Rose Red.
Yes, see? All full circle. I've got the next thing is, they go to where the nursery is.
Oh, yes,
and they're standing in front of the nursery and it's cold. And he said, this is the heart of the house. And all I put was, heart of Hill House is cold. Duh. Okay.
But they're like, we're not going to go in this room yet.
But let's not go in here.
Yeah, he's like, hey, let's let the tension build a bit more before we go into this room for
honestly,
reason.
It was just an odd thing. And someone made the pun, frozen food for thought.
So then, I think it goes to that night. It's that night again.
This is where Theodora and Eleanor are now sharing a bedroom.
Yes, because Dr. Markway thinks it would be best.
Yes, and I'm sure Theodora was on board.
Yeah, Theodora was totally all about that.
But we also find out that Eleanor is crazy. I don't want to say manic depressive. What do I want to say? Bipolar? Because she goes from 0 to 60 from sweet little normal crazy person to fucking psychotic bitch. And like the turn of it, she's like,
they're having.
I just want to go to sleep. Leave me the fuck alone.
Yeah, they're having a nice glass of brandy.
Yeah, and painting their toenails, and it's all very cute.
And they're all having like a little lesbian love fest fun. And then all of a sudden, like, what the fuck does Theodora say to her? But she just like, all of a sudden, Eleanor just loses her shit, and she's like, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, I don't think you killed your mother.
Yeah.
And then she totally freaks out.
Yeah, so then Theodora's like, I don't think you killed your mother because she's fucking psychic, and she knows that that's what Eleanor's thinking about.
Right.
So then Eleanor's all pissy, and...
So they just go to bed.
They go to bed. And then Eleanor wakes up at some point, and there's like... She hears like a weird moan chanting.
Yeah, it's like a guy's voice talking. And they just focused on this one section of the wall.
The section of wall looked really cool. It kind of looked like it had a weird, twisted, winky face in it.
Yes, and they play that up later on. because it zooms in and turns, and you hear the guys yelling at a child, and the child is talking, and this woman is like, "Don't scream, Theodora. Just hold my hand."
Yeah, so she thinks she's still in the bed next to Theodora.
And
And then she
Theodora's
thinks that Laura's holding her hand, and she's like having another internal dialogue about how she doesn't want. She's like, "I'm gonna get up, and I'm gonna stop them from hurting this child."
That's not there, but whatever.
And they keep focusing on this section of wall, and you just hear like weird moaning and people laughing, and a child like,
right. And then the Theodora is squeezing her hand, and it's hurting. And then Eleanor's like, finally, like, "Okay, I'm just gonna yell, and she screams, and she wakes up, not even in the bed. She's on a couch by the wall,
across the room.
Theodora wakes up and goes, "What's going on?" And Eleanor's looking at her hand, going, "Who was holding my hand?
Who was holding my hand?"
God. Whose hand was I holding?
I mean, that part was actually pretty good. Like, that whole scene was really
well played up.
spine tingly. It wasn't scary, but it was, tense.
I mean, it was
a
1963
moment.
scary.
Exactly. Okay. Back then, yes, it would have been a little bit
But yes.
scarier.
And then at this point, I really have to start to wonder if Eleanor, is actually, like, crazy paranoid. Like, if she's just insane, or if she's actually seeing things.
Or both.
Because
that could be why she is seeing things.
So, like, a lot of her internal dialogues, like, almost all of her internal dialogues at this point are about how much she despises the house and is repulsed by it. But she also doesn't want to leave, and she can't leave, and she loves it there. But she's super repulsed and hates this house.
Exactly. But this is
But
her
she
house.
belongs there. It's her house.
It's her house. Then, I guess, wait. I don't know. Did we skip a whole day? Or I just didn't write anything down?
This is the second day. Then it goes to the next morning.
Yeah.
Where, again, there's, like, breakfast conversation.
Yeah, but they just went straight into where he was playing the harp.
Yeah.
Or listening to the harp being
played. It's the next day. He's, Dr. Markway is in a room by himself listening to a harp he says it's playing by itself.
But see, they didn't even show that. That would have been a part of, like, oh, look, there is something happening. Look at this haunting. But they don't. He's just like, oh yeah, this just happened. So again, proof that they could just be fucking with her. Oh yeah, the harp was just playing by itself.
Oh yeah. We forgot. That night, after all of that moaning shit happened, that's when we find out that Nell's mother dying, she died because Nell
didn't take her pills.
Didn't take her pills when she kept calling, like Nell kept
banging
calling to
on
her,
the wall.
Banging on the wall, which parallels when Abigail, the original owner of the house, died when her quote unquote companion
was off fucking the farmhand. But though that farmhand was cute, I would have done too.
I mean, whatever. I'm never gonna say no to a farmhand.
Right.
So anyway, so the next day,
yes,
Dr. Markway is listening to this
harp
play, and then they start having another boring conversation that really goes nowhere and their dogs.
Did you hear that too?
There are dogs barking and sirens. I think they're coming for us.
Yeah, so I got rid of all that rest of that day, and I just started writing again when the doctor's wife shows up.
Yes, I wrote, and then Markway's wife shows up.
And she just...
before bringing into that, at this point, Eleanor is in love with Dr. Markway.
Yes.
They don't really ever explain how... It just happened. Like, all of a sudden, she's just like...
She's obsessed with it.
She's in it to win it.
And we know that Theodora is not having it, and she's apparently told her, this isn't going to happen for you, so you should just let it go. And then the wife shows up. And it is very funny, though, that Eleanor's like, who are you? And Mrs. Markway is like, well, I'm his wife. Didn't he tell you about me?
Didn't he tell you that he had a wife?
No, he clearly didn't. He was clearly leading Eleanor on.
Or was he, though?
I'm
or
sorry.
Was it all just in Eleanor's head?
I don't know. Could have been both. But
yeah,
he did never say he had a wife.
So,
and he clearly wasn't wearing a ring. And I don't know if...
I didn't even notice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Markway's wife shows up.
And I said shows up and ruins Eleanor's dreams.
Delusions is more like it.
Right, and so Eleanor goes, oh, you can stay in the nursery. The cold, dead heart of the house. Yes, go stay in there.
Heart of the house.
And then everybody tries to talk her out of it. And she's like, fuck you, it's just a house.
I'm going to do it, it's a house.
I'm a woman. I'm a free, independent woman of the 60s.
And she's basically telling Dr. Markway, she's like, hey, your research is stupid, you need to leave. She's like, it's in the papers, everyone thinks you're a laughingstock.
You're just such a supportive wife.
Bring this shit home. it's dumb. You need to quit with this. Also, who the fuck are these people and why did you bring them here?
Also, I love how she's like, okay, I'm going to go stay in the nursery. I don't care what you say. Why would they not stay in the room? I know it's the 60s, but they're married. They can stay in the same room.
Yeah, they're not staying in the same room.
But they don't even suggest it. They don't even say, oh, well, why don't you just stay with me? No, I'm going to go stay in this room that's not been opened in 20 fucking years or whatever, 90 years. It's just the weirdest thing. So then Dr. Markway says, oh, well, we're all going to stay in the parlor together, except for my wife. She can go be
my
off
wife
by
is
herself.
willful and is going to stay up here by herself.
Right. And so Luke is, I guess, supposed to be on guard, walking around.
Luke is supposed to be walking around the floor that the nursery's on, where the wife is staying.
Right. But he got thirsty, so he came into the parlor for a drink.
Thirsty to get some booze.
Yes. I thought you were going to say some booty.
Well, that too. I mean,
probably. I don't even know. But he comes into the parlor to get a drink, and everybody's asleep in the parlor, and he's just drinking out of this bottle, and all of a sudden the door slams, and everybody wakes up, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing down here? Aren't you supposed to be upstairs?" And he's like, "I got thirsty.
I needed a drink."
Yeah, and so I was like, Luke is still hot, but kind of an alcoholic.
And also he's kind of a dick. Like everything he says, he's just like,
whole time I think that's his character.
He's just like, hey, I could sell this. I'm going to sell every book in this library for 25 cents a piece. Yeah. I'm going to sell this.
I'm going to turn this into a club. Yeah.
I'm going to turn this into a club.
He is basically a dick. But, so then the really good part happens. So the banging starts again.
The banging starts again.
And it's banging and banging and banging. The girls are like, oh God, not again.
And the guys... Markway is like, oh shit, I need to go check on my wife. But then they're like, no, it's not up in the nursery. It's on this floor. The banging's coming from this floor.
Right. And I just kept saying, open the fucking door. It's right there. Just open the door and it'll stop. I know it. Because nothing happens in this movie. So they're banging the door and they're like, no, don't open it. Don't open it. And then he finally remembers, oh yeah, my wife. And they're like, well, it's fine. It's here. And so it's still banging, still banging, still banging. And then it stops.
And then Eleanor looks at the psychic woman, Theodora, and is like, is it over yet?
I'm like, you should know. You're the psychic.
And Theodora's like, no, because I still feel cold. And then probably the most interesting, cool effect in this movie.
The most active thing that's happened.
Yes.
That you actually get to see.
Yeah, every time... Okay, so there are lots of really amazing shots of, like, people with, like, these weird statues in the background everywhere in this movie.
Yes.
And every time you're just like, it would be so cool right now if a statue moved slightly or did anything. I know it was the 1960s. They didn't have that kind of technology.
They could have done it.
You could have found a way.
Strings and wires.
But anyway, especially because... So here we come to the door scene.
Yeah, the door scene is really cool. It looks like... Because the banging stops, but then the door handle slightly jiggles, moves, and then all of a sudden the door just starts to look like it's breathing. Or
and
pushing
it's like
out,
bending and doing like I love kind of practical effects like that where it's just like it's a little unnerving.
I put breathing, flexing door trick, whatever it was just really cool. And then all of a sudden that stops and you hear noise going towards the nursery, and that's when they're finally like, we need to get out, but they can't get out.
No, Markway tries to go out, and then Dick-face Luke is like, no, don't. And he's like, but literally my wife. And he's like, no. And it's like, dude, the thing is clearly going that way. You could let me, like, Markway is like, could have easily been, you could let me out, close the door behind me. Right. But Luke is like, fucking drunk ass Luke is like, no.
But the funny thing is, as they're trying to get out the door, Eleanor just leaves through the side door that nobody else saw.
After yet another weird internal dialogue about how she belongs in this house.
Yeah, she goes off and she starts spinning around.
Oh my god, this part. She looks like she is in the video for Total Eclipse of the Heart. There's just like
she's spinning
curtains
into curtains
blowing and she's spinning and running around. And I'm just like, this is the worst 80s music video.
It was so funny though.
Of all time.
But I wrote, Eleanor has flipped, honey, because she is just humming the song and spinning around and living her Stevie Nicks fantasy.
So the next shot we see is Eleanor is talking to the statue that's not supposed to be there again.
Right.
And she's basically like, it's okay. I belong here. I'm going to come and find you. And then she just starts like Stevie Nicks style spinning around the statue.
Yeah, and then she goes into the library and she's like, it's better now. I don't smell the
I
death.
don't smell death in this room all of a sudden. It's crazy.
So then she's like, okay, I have to go up this staircase, up where the companion had killed herself, up to this tiny little ledge that goes nowhere. And so she's going up this staircase, and the staircase design is amazing. It's the spiral staircase.
I wrote she's Stevie Nicks up the stairs so hard.
She totally does. But she's going up this staircase, and she goes up forever, and she only is like halfway.
Yeah, like it keeps showing shots of her walking up this staircase, and then when you see her on the staircase,
like 3 steps.
She's gone up a whole 3 steps, and then.
But then the whole staircase, the way they built it, because it moves, because it's so rickety or supposed to be rickety, it's actually built on wheels, and it's loose. And so it's supposed to move like that.
Yeah, and it's coming and they show that it's like coming undone from the ceiling and the wall, and it's like gonna collapse.
Right, but she's like, whatever, I'll be fine. She keeps walking up and walking up, and then Luke and the doctor and Theodora come in. They're like, no, come down,
come down.
And so the doctor is like, oh, I'll come get you.
And everyone's like, literally don't,
because
it can't hold both of you. It's already about to collapse.
Right.
And she just like, and Eleanor just keeps looking down at them like, I want to listen to you, but I also want to be up here. So I'm going to go and be up here.
Right. The house. It's got to be about the house. And so she goes up there. The doctor follows her up. They're both on the top. And she's like leaning back, trying not to be touched by the doctor. And then he grabs her and she breaks out of her like psychosis or whatever.
And they're psychosis or trance. We can't tell.
Oh, God. So they're about to go down the stairs together. Not a good idea. Separate the weight. Whatever.
Oh, we forgot. So they all go up to check on the wife, and the wife is gone.
Oh, the wife is gone.
The wife is fucking gone.
Right. Oh, yeah. How did we miss that part?
I know, right?
I don't know. Whatever. Fuck the wife. The wife didn't need to be
there. So the wife
there.
is gone. Oh, yeah. So at this point, the wife is gone. They start to look for her, and then they don't realize that Eleanor left again.
Yeah, they completely stop looking for the wife.
So then they stop looking for the wife to look for fucking Eleanor, who fucking Stevie Nicks up the stairway.
Right, so then we're back at the top of the stairs.
So we're back at the top of the stairs.
And they're about to go down, and then all of a sudden this trapdoor opens, and it's the doctor's wife just looking.
But she looks like a fucking maniac. She looks like
crazy.
she looks like she's been on a bender all night.
But only Eleanor sees her and then faints. And I guess the wife just closes the trapdoor again before the doctor sees her.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's dumb. And so
the most excitement that has happened in this movie.
We cut to Eleanor now in a different room with the doctor because she fainted, and she was like, well, didn't you see her? She was right there. He's like, no, I didn't see my wife in the trapdoor. Whatever. It was a cool shot. It was the one like jump scare I guess they had.
It was the most exciting thing outside of the door scene. To happen in this movie, because nothing fucking happens in this movie.
Right. And so finally, because she fainted and she's been having all these issues, the doctor's like, okay, you're leaving.
I need to get you the fuck out of here.
You're leaving. I need to find my wife. We've packed up your shit. Get in your car and leave. And Eleanor's like, I can't. I don't have a home. I lied about having an apartment. I don't want to live with my sister in her living room anymore. And everybody's like, we don't really care. Just get in your car and leave.
Like, bitch, you crazy. It's not fun anymore.
Right. And so
even picking on you has lost all of its charm.
Everything. So she's in the car. Luke is going to go with her. Luke gets out of the car because they need the key to the gate. And then Eleanor's like, you know what? I'm just going to drive. And she starts to drive away.
No. You missed the sweet, tender lesbian part.
Oh, God.
So Eleanor's in the car.
On purpose. Yeah, okay.
And then, on purpose, I don't want to talk about lesbians. Oh, so fucking Eleanor's in the car, and then she's like, Theodora! And then Theodora kind of like pathetically, like a pathetic dog, runs up to the car like, I thought you weren't going to say goodbye.
Well, exactly, because you've been a bitch to me most of the time I've been here, playing with my emotions, causing me to question my sexuality.
Being super rude to me one minute, and then like fucking being in my bed.
Trying to finger me under the sheets.
Exactly, the other.
Oh, yeah, Theodora was a mess.
So yes. So Luke gets out of the car to get the key.
And she just starts to drive.
And then Eleanor's like, fuck it, I'm out of here. I'm just going to drive.
And she's like, the house won't let me leave. Don't worry. And then all of a sudden, something takes over her car and is, jerking it around. Does something
take over the car, though?
I think so, because the way she was jerking, or she's just a really bad driver.
I mean...
Female drivers. In the 60s. And she was crazy.
She was never allowed... Well, let me just say she was never allowed to drive the car before.
Because you don't know how you're going to get it back. That's right. That's what her sister said. But then, so she starts to aim for this tree, and then all of a sudden you see the crazy doctor's wife running across the field in front of her, and then bam!
Boom, she hits a tree.
She hits the tree.
It's the same tree that the original wife hit.
In the carriage with the horses. And
the doctor's like, see, here's the mark from the carriage.
Yeah,
that
and so
hit.
Eleanor's dead. Spoiler alert.
So Eleanor dies somehow.
And then the wife pops up. She didn't crash because of me. She was already aimed at the tree, and she just barely saw me.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, okay.
And then she's like, I didn't mean to scare her at the top of the stairs. I don't even know how I got up there. And I don't know how I got outside.
Bitch, we told you from the beginning, don't go in there. But
don't
what'd you
go
do?
into that room.
Okay, and so then Eleanor's dead. I don't know how she died. That car was not going that fast.
No, the car was not going that fast.
But it completely flipped over.
Yeah, the car also flipped over, which I don't also understand, but
Right.
whatever.
So then cut to they're standing by the car and everybody's like, oh, we've got to leave. And the doctor's like, oh, I need to get my shit. And the wife's like, you shouldn't go back in the house. And the doctor's like, oh, the house already has what it wanted. Eleanor dead,
Yes,
basically.
Eleanor, the house wanted Eleanor. But it's like, did the house want Eleanor, or was Eleanor just crazy the whole time? Did she hit the tree on purpose, or did something cause her to hit the tree?
See, that's the whole we don't know. Was it like a group psychosis? Were they fucking with her? Is it actually haunted? We don't really know. But the guy, Luke, who's supposed to inherit the house, goes, this whole place should be burned down and the ground should be salted. I'm like, bitch, well, you're going to inherit it. Do it. Do what you got to do.
Yeah, it's basically your house when Juno, your caseworker, dies.
And that was the end. That was it.
It just ended. It was like
the end. We're like,
Oh,
okay. Yeah, exactly that. Exactly that.
It was just kind of like, okay, so basically nothing happens, and then two kind of interesting things happen,
Yeah.
and then the bitch hits the tree and dies.
What does it take to convince you that the dead do not always rest in peace? That some houses, like Hill House, are born bad?
Yeah, overall this movie was just kind of it was visually cool.
It was visually beautiful.
The director wanted to do it in black and white. It didn't need to be, but he wanted to do it in black and white for effect, which worked out really well.
There was a lot of great things with shadows. It was, like I said, as a photographer, this movie is really pretty to look at.
Right. It is really cool. It's a really cool movie to look at. It's a little bit... I felt like when we paused it about halfway, I was like, oh, it's almost over. It was only half done.
Yeah, we're just like...
I was like, we're only an hour in.
I was
Jesus
like, shit.
Christ.
I'm like, I don't remember this movie being so boring. We should
Right.
just watch another movie.
Well, we put an hour
But
in. I was
at
like, we
that
had
point,
to
we're
finish
just
it.
like, fuck it. We might as well just see this through to the end.
Right. And so if you didn't make it through, I don't blame you, but you should try to make it through because then you can say you've seen it and that you did it.
I would also suggest that you watch the one with...
The House on Haunted Hill.
Yes, with
The Vincent
Price, because that's...
It's a lot better.
It's a lot more...
way campier.
It's a lot
and
more
funnier.
fun because it's campier and...
Maybe we'll do that one next. But
More
I've seen that one. I hadn't seen this one. So, funny thing, I had not seen a movie on my list. Oh, yeah.
Oh my god!
I know, it's a running theme. So, any final thoughts? Recommendations? What are we going to use as our rating system for this? Oh, I know. Ugly statues?
Ugly, crazy statues or internal dialogues? Because there were a lot of them.
Well, those were only Eleanor's.
I know, but there were so many.
Yeah. Well, okay, how many internal dialogues out of 10 do you give this movie?
I mean, if we were rating it on specific things, it would vary overall.
Overall.
I would say a 4. 4 internal dialogues.
Ooh, that's rough. Well, I'm going to be a little nicer and say maybe 6 ugly statues out of 10. Because, again, it's visually really cool.
Yeah, that's the only reason it had those 4 points. Oh, those 4 points are all in the visuals.
But it also has, you can see the inspiration for other movies that were much better.
Yes, you can see the inspiration that it had for a lot of movies that were better.
Yeah, you can see where this movie was kind of a foundation for other directors and stuff. So it's a good, inspiration. So that's why I give it a 6 out of 10.
Like I said, mine were all for visuals,
Yeah.
which is basically like the only thing this movie had going
Well,
for
it
it.
had the lesbian theme, which is for the 60s is, pioneering. even though it was kind of supposed to be subtle, but it was not subtle at all.
Yeah, it's supposed to be subtle, but you could instantly tell, like, oh, there's some lesbian things going on.
Instantly, yes. As soon as Theodora showed up, you're like, hello, lesbians.
I mean, but honestly, like, Theodora's probably the best character in this movie.
Well, at least her wardrobe.
Even though
was
she's
so good.
kind of a bitch, she was still...
Right.
She was kind of fabulous.
She was. I liked it. I liked her a lot. So yeah, anything you would like to plug? Photography, your Instagrams, anything.
Sure. So, as I've said before, I am a photographer. I specialize in night photography. Basically, I shoot abandoned things at night. My Instagram is Nox Vomica, which is, well, it's Nox _ Vomica, which is NOX _ VOMICA. My website is noxvomica.com. And yeah.
Okay, cool. I will put it in my stuff after this. But, so thank you for being on my podcast.
I just wish it had been a more campy movie. It would have been, I think, more interesting.
Well, you can always come back to the Lair of Eternal Damnation.
I hope that you will let me come back.
And we can do something much more entertaining. Because I had another movie picked out for you that we'll talk about later, off air, which I think will be a lot more fun. And we can do that one and, people will love it. But I'm sure people will love this too. I mean, we're hilarious.
I don't know, are we?
I'm pretty funny.
You personally are very hilarious.
I know, I'm great. You're good too. I
have my moments.
So see, I think you'll be fine.
But
I mean, this is all here.
I know. I'm just saying,
your singing part alone is.
You're one of the few people, because you are a sassy bitch. I am a sassy
Yes.
I think that's why we get along, because we're both kind of sassy bitches.
Yes.
You're one of the few people.
Very few.
That I would be hesitant to get in a sass off with, because I'm afraid
you could lose.
I would be afraid that there's a possibility that I would lose. And I feel no shame in admitting that at all.
You shouldn't. That's high praise, definitely. Okay, well, thank you again, and yeah.
Good night. Or whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to put the ending in. Don't worry.
Well, that was fun, right? Right? Well, as always, please rate, review, and subscribe, and tell your friends. Follow the podcast at Reflections of Darkness on Instagram, as well as following me, Evil Queen SF. And if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, or questions, please feel free to message me at either of those locations. I also want to give you a little homework. I need suggestions on how to refer to you all out there in podcast land. What should your name be? Are you Evilites? Reflectionistas? My dark army? Stuff like that. So send me all your ideas so I can borrow them for the podcast. Good night.